On April 29th, 2024, the father of my child told me that I would never see him again. And then he got on a plane and flew to Kauai. And a year and a half later, I have not seen him. I have not heard from him. I haven't spoken to him. He has indeed vanished. My son was 2 at the time, almost 2 at the time of him leaving. And we had spent 2 joyful, wonderful, and difficult years becoming a family together. We had been living in rural East Tennessee in the mountains of Appalachia, where my family lives. Though I'm originally from Nashville, my whole family moved out to East Tennessee. My brother and his kids, my parents, my cousins, everybody. So that is where we went when I was ready to have my child, though we were living a nomadic life before that. He and I met on the island of Kauai, where we were surfing every day, living in a cool off-grid, super rustic cabin. And then we moved to the coast of Maine, the Atlantic Ocean, where we lived in a van for a few months. He was a lobsterman. I was working at a bakery on a little organic farm making pies, and that is where we got pregnant, in a van down by the ocean. As you can imagine, I have gone through immense grief in the loss of the father of my child. It often feels like he died, though he is off living his life on Kauai as if nothing happened. He is very much alive, I guess. Maybe not on the inside. But today I want to tell the story of how this grief portal was actually the thing that allowed me to rise from the ashes and become the fullest version of myself, to live the life that feels most aligned, most joyful, most pleasure-filled. This grief portal, the making of hard decisions, is the reason that I am actively living and creating the life of my dreams right now. I'm nearly 2 months into living on the beautiful island of Ibiza with my now 3.5-year-old son. I am learning to DJ, becoming a DJ, DJing around the island, learning how to produce my own music in Ableton, and truly stepping into being an artist, which is something I never thought that I would do. I worked in the Nashville music industry for about a decade, always being an ally to the artist, but always seeing them as separate from me. I would worship the artist, but I was never one of them. And through grief, through loss, through bottoming out, I have stepped into what I believe is my calling. I've never felt more filled with purpose than I do right now. I've never found more joy in the day-to-day than I do right now. The pleasure I'm experiencing in my body is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. These are all signs to me that we're on the right path. So let's be clear here. I'm the one that made the decision to end our happy little family, right? We were a joyful little family, but the relationship between me and Dad was stagnant. He was unwilling to grow, unwilling to evolve, unwilling to adapt, unwilling to step into the next era of life with me, and he was holding me back. He was sucking the life force energy out of my body like a leech. I actually visually saw that one time in the morning when I woke up with him sleeping next to me. I saw a leech sucking my life force. That's what he was doing, like a vampire. Now, about a year before this, I had gotten a very clear message from God that God would tell me when it was time to go. So I knew for a while that this relationship would come to an end. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed every single day. I prayed, God, show me, tell me when it's time to go. I'm listening. I won't make a move until it's time. And one day, clear as day, the message came. It's time to go. And I listened. I wanted co-parenting. I wanted him to stay in my son's life, but he couldn't handle it. As you might imagine, the grief was immense for the first long while after he vanished. I found myself often sobbing on the floor. My son would hold me and say, "Are you okay, Mama? Are you okay, Mama?" God did bless me with another man to hold me through the darkest time in my life. He was far away, 3 hours, but he was emotional support. and he loved me very much. God bless him. Couldn't have been easy to date me during this time, but I don't know how I would have gotten through that year without someone to hold me. It was dark. So dark. The hardest part are the memories, right? All of the good times, all of the things we experienced together. The three of us, me, Dad, and our son. When our son was 9 months old, we took him to Puerto Rico for, I think, almost 3 weeks. And we camped on the beach almost every night. We got to go surfing, eat coconuts, show our son the world together. We did tons of road trips to North Carolina. The father of my child is an incredible mountain biker, and because of that, my son loves biking. He got to see his dad biking just about every day. So many good memories, and you just can't stop thinking, like, how is it possible that there's gonna be no more of those memories? But as time goes on, you start to shift from like wanting to not remember to just being so grateful that you were able to make those memories in the first place and that time existed. I'd say the other hardest part is obviously parenting is never meant to be done alone. And like, of course it's hard to parent, but one of like the real thing behind that saying is that having another like adult there to witness the way your child grows up, to witness all the things your child does for the first time, and to share in the joy of seeing this thing that you created grow. It's very painful to not share that with someone. It's very painful to just witness that on your own. Especially when you had someone there for 2 years to share in it with you, and then suddenly they're just gone. For the record, yes, it makes total sense that he wanted to leave me, right? I broke his heart, I did. But it doesn't make sense that he could just abandon his son in this way. Anyway, April-ish of 2024, this all starts to go down. At the time, I had been running multiple businesses via my social media, between network marketing and selling my own courses and being affiliate for products. I was always the financial provider for our little family of 3. Everything I did through social media. And at the time of my family collapsing, I obviously couldn't put any energy into that work, and things started to get very silent. I wasn't hustling anymore, right? I started to take space. And visions of DJing began to flood through my mind, specifically doing online events where I could bring guided vision quests, guided journeys, guided meditations, and fuse them with DJ sets. I could bring those two into the home and host these big online events of dance parties with intention. And the visions were coming very clearly at this time of collapse in my life, where I was forced to get very quiet. I very quickly bought DJ decks. I told my then business mentor, I'm shutting down my courses and I'm gonna be a DJ. She was like, whoa. Hold on, you've built a lot of things here. How can we weave these two together? And you know what happened? I started dating this other guy who was a musician himself, and I very quickly fell into old patterns. The old pattern of being the ally of the artist, not being the artist myself. I started building a new business where I was essentially teaching artists, Nashville-based artists, how to brand themselves on social media and capitalize on Instagram for launching their careers, which is classic Rachel Liu pattern, right? Being the ally of the artist instead of being the artist myself, even though I was getting these extremely clear visions of what I was meant to do, which was make art, which was be the leader, which was be the DJ. And so I dated this guy for almost a year, and he was wonderful. He is wonderful. Such a rock. Showed up for me in so many ways. In the end, it wasn't meant to be. And again, God spoke to me. This time I wasn't asking when I should leave. My daily prayers are, Divine Mother, today and every day guide me. Show me where I'm meant to go, what I'm meant to do, who I'm meant to speak to, what I'm meant to say. And suddenly God was telling me that I needed to step away from this man. God was telling me that I was meant for something much bigger, and I couldn't see it until I stopped gripping to this idea of a whole family. I had to let go of finding my son a dad right away. I had to let go of the traditional family model. I couldn't see what I was actually here to do and to be. I'm telling you, God sent me signs in the form of bears, snakes, coyotes, repeated patterns, feathers, songs. I did not want to hear the message. I did not want to hear the message that God was sending to me about leaving this man. I was so scared. But I couldn't ignore the signs. One morning I was sitting on his porch at before sunrise because I had had this dream. Oh my God, I had had this dream. It couldn't have been more clear, this dream, that this relationship was over and I had to leave. Maybe in another video I'll tell the actual dream, but not right now. I woke up from this dream and I went outside. It was pre-dawn. I sat on the front porch and I was just sobbing. I was saying, God, why are you telling me to leave this man? I felt like Moses. The message was so clear, but I didn't want to follow it. And as I was sobbing there asking why, I looked down and this teeny tiny little feather blew right up to my toe, as if to say, how much can you trust me? How much can you trust me? And I went inside, I got in bed with him, and I just cried, and we held each other, and we knew that it was over. Neither of us could say it, but that would be the last time that we saw each other. And now I was thrust back down way deep into the grief. Where am I supposed to go? What am I meant to do? Who am I meant to speak to? What am I meant to say? Again, the business that I was building, I had to completely stop. I had to get so quiet. My son was going to a little 2-day-a-week forest school at that time, and usually when he was at school, I would just be hustling, trying to make money, trying to build a business, and I couldn't focus. I had to tell my clients, I'm done. I went to my energy healer, old wise woman friend, and she just held the field for me. She gave me the space to feel the field, to hear the messages. She gave me the tools. And I just spent hours and hours and hours outside in my garden. This was May, June of 2025. And one day, with my hands in the dirt in the garden, which is typically where messages come through for me, specifically in the garden. When you're in liminal spaces, when you have no idea what's going to come next, go outside. That's what I do. And I get my hands in the dirt, and one day, clear as day, a literal booming voice in my head said, you will go to Ibiza, you will become a DJ, you will be an artist, you will produce your own music, and you will weave prayer into dance music. I was like, excuse me, what? Excuse me, what? I wrote it down on a sticky note. I ran inside, I wrote it down on a sticky note. I said, am I moving to Ibiza? I sat with it for maybe a day, and the decision felt so real in my body. I started to put it out onto social media, onto Instagram, that I wanted to move to Ibiza to be a DJ. I needed housing. Here's the day when I wanted to go. Here's the type of housing I wanted. My son would be with me, and boom, 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 I think within 2 weeks, it was all orchestrated, and someone had rented my house in Tennessee, and everything was in action, and we were to leave Tennessee on September 1st. Without this grief portal, I would have never done this. Grief was the activator. Grief said there's no more time to play small. There's no more time to pretend you're something that you're not. There's no more time to doubt yourself. And it happens this way because when grief comes into your life, you can't do anything else but grieve. You have to grieve fully. Feel it fully. You can't distract yourself. When you allow yourself to no longer be distracted, when you allow yourself to stop hustling and just sit with the field and sit with your grief and sit with the not knowing and sit with prayer and sit with God, it's in that stillness. It's in the stillness after the earthquake of grief. It's in that stillness that the answers come and the guidance comes. And now I live on Ibiza. I'm a DJ, I'm making music. I'm surrounded by aligned community. My son is in a school for the first time that he loves, and it's totally the right time for me to have let go and let him spread his wings and fly. He wants to be around friends now. He doesn't want to be around mom all the time. He loves to come home to me, but he gets out of the car and runs to school every day to see his friends. Every door is opening for me in perfect time. My trust in God, my trust in the universe, my trust in the higher power is at its deepest it's ever been, because prayer is what got me through the loss of my family. Prayer is what made me realize that my son and I together, we are a whole family. Prayer is what has given me the confidence to claim something that has always felt out of reach. There will always be dark times. Always. But when you let yourself sit in the darkness and process the darkness, the light always comes. And it shines brighter and brighter. This was both the darkest grief of my life, and this is the highest high I've ever been. I pray for my son's dad just about every day. I pray for his healing. I also pray for the healing of the man that's meant to come into our lives and be my son's father. I pray that he is healing in the same way that I am so that we can find each other in perfect time. No rush, no gripping, just the deepest trust will get you through.